Okay, can you hear me? So as we heard from Jack Dangerman in his address, disasters are catastrophic events that are powerful, overwhelming, uncontrollable, sometimes incomprehensible, as we've seen in the last few weeks in Haiti, and as we have seen here in Jeddah a couple of months ago. So they get out of our control. They come from things like earthquakes, floods, storms, landslides, tsunamis, any powerful event that is beyond human control. We need to know the consequences of these disasters. We need to know what are the risks associated with these disasters, what are the risks that will create disasters in combination with one of these powerful events. Some of it is loss of life, some of it goes to property damage, infrastructure, all kind of other things, disruption of public services, displacement of people and societies and communities, panic, disturbances after, during, and after the disaster, and sometimes, and most of the time, is combination of all of the above. So we need to understand where these disasters are, or where these risks are, and how they might affect us if they occur. So we need to understand, the geography that is going to be affected by a certain disaster, okay, or certain powerful event. And we need to understand at the same time how vulnerable we are in responding to that disaster, and how the disaster is going to affect us. What is the likelihood of the disaster? How is it might affect us? What to do if it happens, and so forth. Now I want to give you a quick story that I like, and it might make a lot of sense for all of us. There was a city where at the entrance of the city, there was only one main road to the city, and one main road that goes through the city from one side to the other. At the beginning of the city, there was a pothole, and the pothole started growing bigger and bigger. And it came to a time when every car that passed through the city and fell through that pothole had injured people, and to transport the injured people from that pothole area to the hospital, which was on the other side of the city, many people died before they got to the hospital. So, of course, there's a problem, but there are resources. There are ambulances, and there are emergency crews, and there is a hospital, but it's at the other end of the city. So the city council decided to meet, and their problem was, do we build a hospital near the pothole, or we move the pothole near the hospital? So you can see sometimes most of our efforts are reactive to things that happen. But what we want to do, and what we encourage everyone to do, is to start preparing, be prepared instead, and mitigate the problems instead of reacting to them on a regular basis. So we have the emergency management concept and emergency management operations. And the main goal of emergency management is to protect communities by reducing the vulnerability to hazards. So we know there are hazards. We know where they are most of the time. We know that these hazards can be triggered by other events or by themselves. They trigger themselves. And we want to make sure we are ready to respond when these disasters occur. Okay? Now, this is not an easy mission. So we need to be prepared to handle and tackle the complexity of that mission. Complexity of these emergency situations has increased by many things, including public expectations, including resources and budget cuts, and when the budgets are not available. So the emergency management covers mainly 4 areas. The mitigation, where we need to really know what we have, what's there, what might happen, how we might be affected. So we need to understand the hazards and risks, where they are, and we need to prepare to and try to reduce those as much as possible, and if possible, eliminate them from becoming major disasters with a powerful event like an earthquake or a flood or big storm and so forth. We need to also be prepared to be ready when something happens and it gets out of our control, and how do we respond to it? We need to be prepared in terms of having resources and budgets and plans, so that when we have something like this, we can go and tackle it, we can handle it, okay, to the best of our abilities. We need to also respond to emergency situations. We need to send crews, we need to send public safety to block roads, we need to reroute different people in when they were handling the Katrina disaster in the United States a couple years ago. What happened is they asked everyone to evacuate New Orleans, but what happened? They did not open both ways, both sides of the highway for the traffic. So they had the traffic jam. People stood in their places. They could not drive 1 centimeter for hours and hours and hours, some of them for days, because they did not prepare, they were not prepared for opening both ways of the highway to traffic one direction. And in one direction, there was no traffic at all. There was no cars coming to New Orleans. So we need to have those plans. How do we make sure if there is something, we can reroute people, we can address the logistics and have maps and distribute those maps and make sure everyone knows about them, all the agencies involved. And we need to also be careful and be ready to support the recovery efforts. And the recovery efforts includes rebuilding, reconstruction, rehabilitating the areas, making sure that security is there, people are not looting the houses that are empty, protecting people's property and people's lives, and distributing what the people need in terms of living and food and water and so forth, so that they can be taken care of during and immediately after the disaster. There are a lot of challenges to this emergency management. The challenges, reside mainly in collecting and managing and maintaining all the data and securing that data. And identifying which are the vulnerable areas, which areas are difficult and need to be mitigated, what things need to be mitigated before the disaster, to prepare for disasters. And we need to have the plans, we need to have the training, we need to have the situational awareness that we need to know where things are, where hospitals are, where the roads are, what roads can support certain types of trucks and so forth. Okay?